Welcome to the Sister Street Show with Mary Nunley and Sharon Giro, interactive show and virtual playground where we explore topics around entrepreneurship, online and in-person events, and the games that can be played with all of it. We invite you on our journey of sisterhood discovery and trial and error in the adventures of online entrepreneurship.
Aloha, everyone, and welcome back to this Sister Street Show. We are kicking off some of our guest series with my personal mentor and my friend, Virginia Muzquiz, the Referral Diva. Virginia, welcome.
Hi, Sharon. Thanks for having me on the show. I've been waiting for this moment. I was waiting to be an honorary sister.
You are sister, tutu, auntie, all of the above. So, Virginia, we spoke right before the show started around how our audience, some of them are still in corporate and some of them have jumped into entrepreneurship. And you've mentored me from basically day one of my entrepreneurial journey on the fact that you need a plan, you need clarity, but that you can reinvent yourself. And I think this is something that people really need to hear now. You know, we've heard the term of the Great Resignation. But I think for us, it's all about the year of the entrepreneur. And it doesn't have to mean that you are already in business, but it does have to mean you have that entrepreneurial spirit. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey in corporate to entrepreneurship and what you have to share for us?
Sure. So my corporate experience was with a Sylvan Learning Center consortium in the St. Louis area, St. Louis market, near where I live. And I was hired as the vice president of contract services for a gentleman who owned 7 franchises. So it was fairly large, and we had zero presence in that world. But and we went from 0 to 2.5 million in 5 years for a sum total of over $6 million in educational sales over that 5 years that I was in that position. And I think one of the things that if you're in a corporate position, but you're feeling constrained, like you're feeling like, oh, I need to be an entrepreneur. What I would suggest is that you start treating your job like your largest client. So it may be your only client right now and you get paid on a W-2, but it doesn't matter how you get paid or how your expenses get paid. But you want to start thinking about the fact that you're an employee, but if you take responsibility for your role in your job as if you owned the business, number one, your productivity goes way up, your attitude changes, and you learn differently. You look at what you're doing differently and you start learning the entrepreneurial journey. And I think that really was the biggest part of my success. So I remember it was probably I love this guy. We're still friends. But we had a contentious relationship, like boss employee. And I would end every conversation with like, are you firing me today? Right? Because you know me, I'm just like, I push back on stupid, and so he was really into the corporate micromanaging thing and whatever. And so one day I was like, what is it going to take for you to trust me and just get off my back and let me run this business? Because I care about this business as if it were my own, because what I recognize is it's my job to grow it. It's my job to establish it. It's my job to scale it. That's my job. But if you micromanage every single move, you stifle my creativity and you make problem solving like impossible. And so like one day I was like, go drink a bottle of wine and just leave me alone. Right. Like just stop. And so, but what started to happen, he was like, you were the best I ever had. Right. And it was because I treated it like we were business partners instead of treating it like he was my boss and I was his employee. I had every understanding that was the relationship in certain things. Like I didn't spend his money. I didn't make decisions that weren't mine to make, but I still saw that as partnership. Right. And so I think in that corporate space, that's number one. Number two, if you're thinking about the Great Resignation, you have 2 choices. You can toss your head and say, screw this, I'm out of here, and leave without learning anything that you needed to know and without thinking about the financial, emotional, spiritual, physical relationship consequences of the temper tantrum. So when I decided to leave, I worked as diligently as I ever had. I did not give up 1 inch of my dedication, my devotion, anything to my job, but I started my coaching practice on the side. And that's kind of where I started getting my feet wet. And then I started getting mentored in that. And then when the right moment came and I had groomed my replacement from my employee pool. And when I left, I said, Judy's ready to go. You can trust her like you trusted me. In fact, you can trust her more because she's excited about this job and I'm not anymore, which is why I'm exiting, because I can't bring the passion that this deserves to you. And believe it or not, the outcome of that was Judy ended up buying the learning center.
Oh,
from him.
wow.
Yeah. So she became his right hand. And so, if you're going to leave, set the business up for success. Don't be a butt. And even if they're jerks, right? There's a great meme on Facebook yesterday, and it said, if they respect you, respect them. If they disrespect you, respect them. Don't let someone else's incivility ruin your manners.
Ooh, I love that.
And I think Grandmaster Scott, right? But I think that is a big part of managing the mindset of, I am not going to get senioritis. I am not going to be bitter. I'm not going to be angry. I'm going to see this all the way across the finish line, because it's not about leaving the business great. It's about my ability to walk away with that intact. Now, on the entrepreneur side, couple of things. There's a great entrepreneur.com article that I posted in our Facebook group. I guess it was yesterday or day before, about the 5 things you need to know as an entrepreneur. And like, one of them is like, it's really hard. And number 2 is like, people won't like you. And number 3 was like, it's really hard. Forbes.com did a study and found that entrepreneurs are 5 to 7 times more likely to be suicidally depressed than the average Starbucks barista or something. And, we are, right? So if you're going to do the Great Resignation, keep in mind that if you were working in an office and you were working in a corporate environment, whether you liked your colleagues or not, you were surrounded by people. The clients were brought to you and you took care of them, right? Like, that part was done for you. The day you become an entrepreneur, you become a solo entity, and you've got to surround yourself. You got to get mentorship and you've got to get coaching. So next week in our Get Connected, I'm going to talk about the fact that if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, you need a method. Now, that should not be a surprise. When you worked in corporate, wasn't there a method? There was a method. There was a way to deliver the product and the service that you had. There was a method, right?
Yep.
So when you got the job for the first time, what did you do? You were mentored. Somebody trained you, taught you, and mentored you. So a lot of entrepreneurs are like, I'm just going to be a consultant, but they haven't defined their method and they don't have a mentor to show them the ropes. So they're swimming in the dark in swirling, waters, rapid, scary waters. Because they don't have their own method and they don't have anyone to show them the ropes. So new entrepreneurs often don't want to invest in mentorship, but you were smart. You were like, what is the longest, most expensive program you have? Because that's the one I want, right? Like, just whatever it takes. And I was talking to a young entrepreneur yesterday and I said to her, listen, I know you just graduated college and everything, and like, you're having a tough time deciding to go to a $500 workshop. And I'm curious, would you be like niggling about this if it was like you were going over to Washington University and getting your MBA? She's like, oh no, I would totally do that. I'm like, it's $60,000. So you legit would sign up for a $60,000 MBA where you would make no money for 2 to 3 years while you finished it, in the hopes of maybe getting a job that someone would hire you to do, or being an entrepreneur again, being stuck exactly where you are, but now with a $60,000 debt load and 3 letters after your name, but you're niggling about $500 to go to a workshop. I don't understand. She was like, dang, right? So mentorship and get the good stuff, do your due diligence. Third thing is mastery. Mastery means that you try, fail, try, try, fail, 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 succeed, fail, 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 succeed, try, right? Like you have to, mastery is like how you learn to ride a bike, how you learn to swim, how you learn to walk. But somehow we have this idea that like, I'm going to hang my shingle out and I'm going to scale to 1,000,000. Like, no, you're not.
Right.
You're not, no matter how brilliant you are.
Your point of the college is the same thing, right? So we spend so much for ourselves, for our children to go to college. And then when we go into entrepreneurship, unlike college, we think that we're going to make money right off the bat. But success is a long journey and you need that planning. You need all of the process and the systems you talked about, the mentorship, the coaching. That's exactly what we've been saying in the series on why you need your clarity of what you're going to do, why you need a plan. And you talked about how that plan was implemented for you as you offboarded with Sylvan, but you also added the integrity piece, the relationship piece. And then, yes, it's not a guarantee off the bat, but you now have the education. And if you keep that coaching, you have the support to make it in the long run, right?
But the interesting thing, Sharon, which is really cool, because, you know, as a coach, I'm constantly evolving and I'm investing in myself. And I shared with somebody yesterday, I'm like, yeah, you want to know what I pay monthly for my coach? And they were like, oh, and I'm like, right. Like it pains me to write the check. It hurts so bad, right? Like it's really, really painful. Anyway, I just paid it today. So I'm like sweating. But here's the thing. You can write a plan, but you don't know if that plan's going to work. I'm like, you know what? This online thing has me confounded because I was great doing that. Get up, go to the back of the in-person thing. Like I can command a room. I can like mesmerize them and get everybody. I can move people in a room, but online it's just like, right? And there's so much competition in line. There's so like, if you're in a market where there's an event, that's only one event. And there aren't like 7 billion other things that someone could choose. There's like a concert, a baseball game, and you. Like there's not that much in any given market. But in the online market, there's 19 webinars every single minute. And so like standing out is really hard. And so I just looked for somebody that was doing it really, really well and said, what would you charge me to teach me how to achieve what you're achieving? Yeah. And so am I achieving it yet? No, I am making money. In fact, I'm making more than I've made before. I made like, right. I'm not making what I thought I'd be making, but the key is even in the coaching that we're doing, like the last coaching class we did, people made money. Like if they did the thing, they made money in 90 days, but they had to invest day one to get a 5X or a 10X by day 90. So it isn't that you're, here's what I think. I think if you invest in the coaching to start out, if you invest in the consulting, if you invest both your money, your brain, your mind, your heart, your soul, and when your coach tells you something hard, like happened to me yesterday, I called him up and I was like, you are dead right. I didn't like it. And I'm like, he's dead right. And I can fuss or I can move, right? So one is you've got to invest that first, or else the opportunity cost is way bigger than when you swiped your freaking business card. Like yep. Swipe your card, get a couple, swipe 2 or 3, pay it off and understand that you can make money in 90 days with a mentor. It will take you years to do it on your own. You will flounder and flutter. And then you know what you'll do? You'll capitulate and hire a damn coach and then finally make money. Like that's what we all did, except you were smart. You were like, I'm not going to do this on my own.
I learned early the power of association and mentorship. And, I still fumble, but I have you there to pull me back on track and you do it often. And that's what I need. But at least I'm not the whipping, right? At least I'm not the one that you have to whip and be like, oh, have some inspiration. Feel like, I'm the one that you have to pull the reins back and be like, okay, stay focused. But no, it bridging.
That's really funny, me coaching you to be focused. Do you find the irony in that?
Well, that's why we're Ohana, because
I do find the irony in that. Okay.
It takes a village. It takes a village. So for all of you that don't know Virginia, you will see her full bio, and we've had her on the show before. We had you on the show before.
No.
Oh
this is my debut, girl.
We saved the star of the show. So you will see the official bio in the chat, in the notes, the show notes. But please check out Virginia and follow her. Now, Virginia's expertise is the power of association. She coaches 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs on how to build their business through relationships and through network marketing and I'm sorry, not network marketing,
Networking.
Referral. Networking.
I suck at network marketing. Don't even begin. I'm like, network marketing, Jenny Ballinger.
She says she sucks, but
Jenny Ballinger.
No, Jenny. Virginia actually does not suck at anything, but her genius.
I really crashed and burned on
well,
that
not
one,
in my world.
I did. I crashed and burned on that one. Let's just be real. I am not a goddess, and I have like lots of, the thing that makes a great coach is they failed more than somebody else has tried.
True. And they are aware of their blind spots.
Yeah.
But Virginia's expertise is in referral marketing. So how do you build your business by referral and really create abundance for yourself and for the people around you through association? So on that, Virginia, because I can't let us off the show without talking about referrals. If someone is looking to move from their corporate job or wherever they are in their business and start to create more cash flow, how can they, in a couple of tips, use the people they know, their ohana, their network, to start to create that cash flow? What would be the first couple things you'd say?
So you've already covered it. The first thing that you want to do is have clarity about, one, who's your tribe? Who do you want to work with? What do they look like? Not only demographically, like in terms of like, what is their household income? Are they men? Are they women? What age are they? All of that. That's where most people stop. You really want to start thinking about who's in your room. So what do you want them to be like? So it's really clarity around your values and what matters to you. So, if loyalty is important to me, right? That's like very important. So even if someone meets my demographic, if they're disloyal, I'm not going to accept money from them, and I'm not going to have them. If they are unable to get out of themselves. So there are people that are, I don't want to call them self-centered. They just have this, like, always be selling, always be closing, always be closing. Like, I'm like, I don't want your money. Like, you're not ohana to me. Right. So having clarity around who and your own values is really important. And then being really clear on who else does business with those folks in a way that you don't. So, if you're coaching people in the spa industry, who else is serving them? Who is a financial advisor that specializes in that? Who is a vendor who sells shampoo, who sells face, gooey face thingies, like whatever it is, who are the vendors for that? And the reason for that is when you're working in your corporate job, right? And you don't have that much time to be able to be like, oh, I'll go to the chamber. Oh, I'll go here. Oh, I'll go there. And I'm a big fan of BNI, but it's not for everybody. And unless you know what you want, and then you can join a group that has what you want. So it's really important to understand who your referral partners could be, and then to network where your potential clients are, and network where your partners are, where your potential referral partners are going to be. Otherwise, you're just wasting time. And I'm a high driver, and wasting time is one of the things that makes me absolutely bonkers. My mother would say, "Mashugana." Drives me mashugana. Hi, Mom.
So much wisdom. So after you've started to see, okay, this is my tribe, and now I know where I need to network and have understood my values, what would you say is the biggest mistake people make when they're trying to create this referral team? Someone that's going to send me business, and because I know them, because I'm in relationship. What is the biggest mistake people make?
Biggest mistake is asking for that stuff before you're in relationship. Like, hi, I'm Virginia. Want my stuff? Hi, I'm Virginia. If you don't want my stuff, who do you know that wants my stuff? So, one of my famous comedy routines is the life insurance agent. And I'm like, this is what you say without saying it. Well, Sharon, it has been delightful sitting here at your kitchen table, wasting 2.5 hours of your time telling you about life insurance that you have absolutely no intention of buying. Here's a slip of paper and a pen, and I would love it if you would write down the name of 10 friends and family members that I could go bored to tears with this presentation, and let them know that you sent me. Right? It's just, that it's that doesn't work. And the other, like the once you're over that, once you're sort of like, no, I'm building a relationship, it's this over giving, under receiving thing, and taking people at their word instead of giving them, like, setting the fleece and letting them prove like, come along, right? Come along. So I've had clients that have said like, I just spent 7 hours this week doing all these connections and nobody did anything for me. I'm like, why'd you spend 7 hours making connections? She's like, isn't that what you do? I said, no, I spend like 10 minutes. Right? Like, I mean, because I'm creating plans and because I'm like, oh, I have to work on Eric's plan today. And this is what I promised I would do for him. And so I'm going to do those things. And then I'm like, hey, Eric, I'm doing the thing today. When are you doing my thing? Right. So we need to be in enough partnership where we can agree on, this is what I need, this is what you need, and I'm going to provide that. And then we do it. And then we are agreed that we'll hold each other accountable for that. So, the design company that I was working with, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they never wanted referrals for the referrals because they were always overwhelmed with work. Like, they're so good, they don't need work. But you know what they always needed was cash flow. Like, they were always working on the projects, but they weren't like, the projects weren't. So like, I'm like, hey, how about if I do 2 hours of coaching and I have this design work done? And they're like, well, you give us the coaching, we'll do the design work. And I said, okay, that's great. And then after they did the design work, I PayPal'd them a bunch of money. They never sent me a bill, but I knew that what they needed was coaching and money. And what I needed was referrals and design work. So it isn't necessarily like, I give you a referral, you give me a referral, I give you this, you give me that. It's what makes each party feel fully supported and in equilibrium in the relationship. It's it's like being with a spouse, and one spouse's love language is quality time and the other spouse's love language is gifts. So if the person whose love language is gifts is constantly gifting to the quality time person, like, that's nice, but the quality time person feels kind of cheated. Mm-hmm. They're getting gifts, but they don't feel good about it. And and then the person who likes gifts is being fawned over by no, spend time with me, hold my hand, let's go to the park, and they're like, how about if you just buy me some M&Ms and a pencil? It's just you've got to use the platinum rule, and you've got to treat people the way they want to be treated. And the way to find that out is to ask. Absolutely. Have a conversation. Someone reached out to me from JVMM yesterday, and we were like, oh my God, this is so exciting. And I go, stop. And he said, what? And I go, so how are we going to do this? And he said, what do you mean? And I'm like, so are we doing like referrals for money? You do a webinar, I do a webinar. What are we doing? Blah, blah, blah. And he goes, you know what I want to do? And I said, what? He's like, let's just do the thing and see what happens. And if we're out of balance, we can have that conversation. And I was like, oh, my kind of guy. Like, yes, like that totally works for me. Right? Totally works for me.
But you asked the question.
So what did he say to me the other day? He goes, well, if you're going to force me to take a check, give it to charity. And I was like, yeah, I do that a lot too.
Nice.
Right. So,
mm-hmm.
It really just depends. And people need to not make assumptions and have conversations.
I love that. So guys, if you have not gotten some of the underlying themes of this conversation, because there have been so many knowledge bombs dropped, and Virginia typically charges $500 to $1,000 an hour for her coaching. So the gift of her time with us is so incredible. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
But some of the themes that you might have heard all had a couple of elements in them. Virginia always has an intention, a clear intention that she has before she does anything, before she chooses to look at another career, before she chooses a referral partner, et cetera. There's always an intention that's very clear. Then she creates a plan. And this is the thing that's really missing. Sometimes I need it, and I'm sure a lot of you that are out there need it too, is that plan that has actionable steps, right? So we just start throwing spaghetti on the wall. Have a plan. It's really, really important. And we've talked about this. You've heard it from Mary and I before. And then the biggest thing that I think is Virginia's success is that she is not afraid to communicate. She's not afraid of the hard conversations. She understands that what is implicit is not always going to be what happens. So you have to be explicit and actually say the words out loud to see the head nod that she's doing and know that the communication is there so that you get agreement. So plan, intention, plan, and communication.
And I want to say something. You were like, she's not afraid to have the hard conversations. no conversation is a hard conversation. All conversations are directed at peace, love, joy, mutual understanding, mutual benefit. So there is no such thing as a hard conversation. If it's difficult, it's because your skill set is lacking. And there are places in my world where my communication skill set is lacking. And therefore I keep things to myself because I don't want to communicate poorly about something, right? But there really aren't hard conversations. There are important conversations. There are negotiations. There are all kinds of conversations, but if you go into any conversation thinking, oh, this is going to, Sharon, I have to have a hard conversation with you. Well, we're already now predisposed to have a bad outcome. When I come and I say, Sharon, I love you with my heart and my soul. And I think we need to have an important conversation so that we can get our heads straight and get on the same page for mutual benefit. You're like, oh, okay. I want to have an important conversation for mutual benefit. That sounds really hot.
Absolutely.
Now, it might be a little contentious because your thoughts are my thoughts, right? But we can have the conversation and have the conviction that in relationship, we want a positive outcome, and we're going to keep moving towards that. And I've walked away from conversations or just been quiet and just said, you know what? I'm having a feeling right now.
Communication.
And I'm not going to talk until I let this feeling, because what comes out of my mouth won't be constructive to the conversation. So the things that make it hard is that we let our feelings have the conversation instead of our hearts.
I love that. Yeah. And you can't find hard out there in the world. I can't find that the conversation is hard between you and I, right? The hard is internal. So as you said, it's not hard. It's just challenge based on skill set. And so if you can identify that challenge and give yourself the grace and the time to work through it and give yourself the courage to still open your mouth and have words come out, then the intention of mutual benefit is much easier.
And I think there's a vulnerability about these conversations. And, Sharon, you and I, because we work together, we've had them. And so when I'm challenged, like I want to have a conversation with you and I'm challenged, I have a lot of emotion around it. I'm not really sure how to express it. I know we're not connecting. I know we're not, and I'm like frustrated and I'm having all these emotions and I want to have the conversation, but I don't want to say something that damages the relationship. When you put all that out, people are like, okay, there's grace, there's grit and there's grace all through the conversation. When we come vulnerable and, messed up to the table, but open to finding the resolution and finding our way. And it's not always clean. And sometimes it's muddy or bloody, but that's okay because we do the work.
And as the mentee, just so you guys know, when you are vulnerable as the leader, as the coach, you give permission to the person that you're speaking to. So by you doing that for me, it gave me the courage, the openness to be able to do so. Because growing up in an Asian household, we were taught not to open our mouths and speak. And so being able to be in a safe environment where that is the expectation is to share the messiness, to get through the difficult or the challenge because you are both committed to the result. It's huge. So thank you. So we are about to wrap up because we have reached our time limit for this episode. But Virginia, now that people are in love with you, how can they find you and what's up next for you?
So masterconnectors.com/blueprint. You'll download my irrefutable 6-step process for turning your network into gold. And there, I'm not going to tell you what the surprise is, but when you download the blueprint, there's another little surprise that it's right. Surprise and delight. What is it? Under promise, over deliver. So download the blueprint and check out the Easter egg surprise that shows up in your inbox. And that'll be cool. And connect with me on LinkedIn. So it's, you can see my name. It's in the little video thing. It's Virginia, Muzquiz. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Do not connect with me on Facebook, because if I do not know you, I will not say yes. So, Facebook is kind of like where that's where really let my hair down. It's where my friends are. And so LinkedIn is where I do my pro stuff. So, and you can also check me out on the Business by Referral podcast on Stitcher, Spotify,
Stitcher, Apple,
iTunes, Apple, whatever.
All the things.
And the new podcast that was just launched, Bad Girls on Business. So I got to we have had so much fun with Jenny and Michelle and that Bad Girls on Business. So we're the only podcast in the industry that is safe, sane, and consensual. We'll be as nice, naughty, or as kinky as you like. And Sharon will even give you a safe word. It's meatloaf, because these girls would do anything for business, but we won't do that.
And you will see Mary and I on the Bad Girls podcast coming up fairly soon. So we're really excited to be on that.
Yeah, we're excited to have you as guests.
Excellent. And Virginia, is there anything that's coming up that you want to tell our audience about?
Well, in the next week, I've got a 3-day workshop. It's called Get Connected Live. And really it's where we align your passion, purpose, vision, mission, like your desires, how you want to grow, what you want to experience, what you want to contribute in the world. And we start to create an aligned network of people that will support you in growing, experiencing, and contributing those things that you want in your life. And that then your business becomes the jet fuel for all of that. So that's what we're going to be doing. You'll learn all about what you already have that you don't even know, like all those dormant assets that you're not really sure of. And then we're going to share with you what to do with them and how to use them on day 3. So you can go to getconnectedlive.com and reserve a ticket. And if you're hearing this after April 21st, 2022, you can still go to Get Connected Live, and we will put you on the wait list for that event. So you can still purchase your ticket or get put on the wait list for the next one that we do.
Yes. And this will be posted. So you will have about a day or two to sign up if you'd like to make it for this one. If not, as Virginia said, we do host the Get Connected, or she does, I'm part of her team. So I get to say we a couple of times a year. So there will always be an event available for you, which I highly recommend. I've gone through it multiple times. And so thank you, Virginia, so much for showing up and being with us in Ohana for our Sister Street guest series. This will not be the last time we have you on the show, but I'm so proud and pleased that we're here with you now.
Thanks, Sharon. I love you so much.
I love you too. All right, guys, check out sisterstreet.show. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on our website. Put any comments and questions you have in the chat, and we can share that with Virginia, and all the links that we've shared will be in the show notes as well. Thanks so much and have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for future videos.